It's no news that the rise of banditry and armed attacks has severely disrupted means of livelihood and the distribution of essential services for people across the Northwest region. Since 2011, nearly 200,000 people have fled bandit violence and remain internally displaced within the Northwest region. Approximately 77,000 Nigerians have fled to neighboring countries, and humanitarian efforts to respond to emergencies in Nigeria, as well as crises in neighboring Sahel and Lake Chad, are overstretched. However, against this backdrop, recently, the battle against banditry and terrorism received judicial backing, as a federal high court in Abuja has outlawed the activities of some groups linked to banditry and declared the activities as acts of terrorism. Some security experts have hailed the pronouncement, lamented that it was long overdue, and the court is in order. While a few dismiss the declaration of armed bandits as terrorists as mere political expediency, saying it will come to no effect. But how will this affect the fight against banditry in the country? Will this be part of the questions our guests will provide answers to tonight as we discuss declaration of bandits as terrorists. Welcome to Nigeria Today. I am Lydia Odijochi. Thank you for joining us. Joining me to provide further insights into the declaration of bandits as terrorists in the studio is Assistant Director, Public Prosecutions of the Federation and Head of Complex Casework Group, Federal Ministry of Justice, Aminu Kayode Alilu. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Lydia.
Okay. Now, let me start by asking you, what actually drives rural banditry?
Sorry, come again?
Yes. What drives rural banditry?
Well, I would say when youth take up crime as, well, I say as occupation, of course, and you really cannot give reasons as to why we have this rural banditry, other than the desire for criminalities among the youth. So it's seen as a green pasture, a new discovered green pasture for them, and because it's much, according to some, once a victim is kidnapped and ransom paid, it's much more convenient for them than robbery. So a lot of them go into the crime because, I would say, laziness. Everybody wants most of the youths engaging in banditry look for shortcuts to success, and rather than go the way of responsible and legitimate labor, they decide to take up arms with the bandits and then take what does not belong to them by way of banditry. So
that's it. Okay. Now, Alilu, now that bandits have been declared as terrorists, what does this imply?
Yeah, thank you, Lydia. The implication of this is that prior to now, the office of the federal government has little to say regarding the prosecution of bandits. As you know, banditry happen in states under different jurisdictions. You know, Nigeria practices federalism, where every state has its own autonomy. Every state has its own judiciary, legislature, and executive. So the bandits, the penal code of each state in the north provides for kidnapping, abduction, and such other offenses. So when they are arrested, they are prosecuted under such state laws. At the federal level, there was little we could do prior to this proscription order. So now that there's a declaration that the bandits are terrorists by virtue of their objectives, now the Office of Attorney General can rightfully prosecute suspects for offenses under the Terrorism Prevention Act, as banditry is now seen as act of terrorism. And so the federal government can work hand in hand with the state governments to ensure that every arrested bandit now is brought to justice. And it is now an opportunity for the federal government to show its determination to get rid of the banditry, just the way it has taken the issue of terrorism in the Northeast, Boko Haram, seriously. And so for the Northwest now, the government can also concentrate and ensure that banditry becomes a thing of the past as soon as possible.
It's okay. Now, actually before this declaration came to be, a lot of Nigerians speculated or were of the opinion that this declaration took too long to be made. What do you say to this?
Well, it's a process. You know, a lot of people actually think it's just for the federal government to come out there and say, oh, bandits are terrorists. No. It has its own processes and procedures which must be followed. And one of the procedures is that the law requires, the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 as amended, requires that the consent of the Mr. President must be sought and obtained. And not just that, you must go to the court, approach the court with particular names. You don't just go to court and say, my lord, I want to have bandits proscribed. They must exist under particular names. So it took time for the security agencies to get some of those names that are more common among the bandits, the group names. And by those names, we approach we first, with intelligence reports available to the Office of the Attorney General, the Honorable Attorney General submitted an application before the Mr. President for his consideration and approval. Mr. President considered it positively, looking at the reasons given, and of course, much aware himself of what is going on as Commander-in-Chief, gave his consent for us to proceed with the application before the Federal High Court. And upon that, we put up the application, approached the court, and then got the order granted, which requires further publication in the Gazette. So it's a process that must be followed. First and foremost, you must obtain the appropriate names under which those bandits are operating, not just to come to court and tell the world that I want to ban bandits. Who are bandits? You must be able to define the objectives of those groups to have something to do with mass abduction, banditry, kidnapping, rape, torture, enslavement, forced prostitution, and deprivation of physical liberty, and then mass adoption in communities, and the killings of commuters and all that. So the objectives that fall within this negative, what's it called, are all brought together under this group. Each of these groups identify a fund to have been responsible for all these nefarious acts in the Northwest. And so those were the names identified and presented to Mr. President for his approval as required by the law. And then we proceeded to court and got the order. So all this while Nigerians were clamoring for the proscription or declaration of bandits as terrorists. We've been working, the office has been working, following the due process of law.
Okay. Now, Alilu, bandits have been declared as terrorists in Nigeria. Is there going to be any difference in the fight when compared to before the declaration?
Definitely it will be, because prior to now, the bandits just exist as ordinary names, ordinary name of a crime. But now banditry itself now is seen as an act of terrorism, and there are international best practices regarding waging war against terrorists. So the same practices, the same approach the government has adopted in respect of the Northeast Boko Haram, the Northeast will now be applied to the bandits in the Northwest, which means that the military can now wage war on these bandits that are now recognized as terrorists by law. And so the issue of invading civilian forests and all that will not be there anymore. And so that is the advantage now. We can now, the federal government will find it much easier to go ahead and implement the international best practices and the war against terrorism, against the bandits as well.
Okay. Now, I also want to be clear about this, about how things are now going to change. Will this declaration change the way the fight against banditry had been taken in the past? Is it full-fledged war now?
Of course, definitely. You see, from two aspects, federal government is prepared now, from the legal aspect and from the military aspect. Because the aim of government is not just to go there and start killing anybody. No. Arrest will be made, prosecution, investigation will be conducted, prosecution will be carried out. So it is a two-way war. The military confront them. Whoever has the audacity among them that fails to surrender the weapons will of course be shown.
Be taken out.
Yes, will be taken out, of course. Why those who respected the law or now realize the fact that there is a superior force against them, who decide to surrender, will be investigated and handed over for prosecution, and the Office of Attorney General can now bring them under the Terrorism Prevention Act and have them charged to court. Because prior to now, you cannot, the Office of Attorney General of the Federation cannot prefer a charge against anybody under the Terrorism Prevention Act because they were not terrorists. But from this moment onward, they can now be charged just the way Boko Haram suspects are being charged to court. They can now be charged as terrorists, and then the penalty for this is when life is involved. If, of course, it carries death penalty, life imprisonment. In fact, the minimum punishment under the Terrorism Prevention Act is 20 years. So when you have these serious punishments melted to them, it will serve as deterrence to would-be bandits/terrorists.
Okay, thank you for that information. We'll take a break now. When we return, there'll be more to talk about as we dissect the issue of the declaration of bandits as terrorists in Nigeria. Don't go away.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms. For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24, news and more news.
You're welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. If you've just tuned in, you're still on time. We have been discussing declaration of bandits as terrorists, and our guest in the studio is Assistant Director, Public Prosecutions of the Federation and Head of Complex Casework Group, Federal Ministry of Justice, Aminu Kayode Alilu. Now, Alilu, what is now expected of Nigerians at this point in time?
Well, what is expected of Nigeria at this point in time is to cooperate with the government, and then everyone should be an intelligence officer, because most of the bandits we talk about actually dine and wine with us in the society, and so we should be ready to collaborate with law enforcement agents, report those suspected. A lot of persons have no means of livelihood, but they live luxurious lives. And I think it's high time we started looking at these people and then giving some information to the security agencies. And also, Nigerians must also be security conscious to make it easy for law enforcement agents. And we must also ensure that especially the parents should know what their children are up to, because we also see a lot of this as if you consider some of the suspects being arrested, you see them that they are teenagers and underage children who are supposed to still be under their parental guidance. I think our Nigerian parents should do more to know what their kids are doing. So this is something that we must all put our hands on deck to ensure that we fight together, not just government. Every individual can also assist. So Nigerians should come together and then see how we can collaborate and support the government in the fight against the bandits and terrorism in general.
It's okay. Now, like earlier I said that a few Nigerians dismissed the declaration of armed bandits as terrorists as mere political statements or expediency, saying it will come to no effect. How would you react to this?
Well, it's not true, because I'm sure such person will have said the same thing when Boko Haram was proscribed as well. But you can attest to the fact that a lot has been done regarding that. And you can see the military has done so much in terms of tackling these unscrupulous elements in the society. And legally, the Office of Attorney General has prosecuted so many, and so many suspects also are awaiting prosecution right now. So, and there's a lot of, we must commend the federal government for what it has done regarding Boko Haram. That would not have been possible if there was no prescription order against the group. So the same thing is going to apply to these bandits now that has been proscribed. So definitely, for some, we have sympathizers of these people. The beautiful thing now is that those sympathizers themselves can now even be charged under the Terrorism Prevention Act as supporters and facilitators of acts of terrorism. So I'm sure some of them who are mere sympathizers are those saying that it is merely political declaration by government. It is never. It's like I said, it's a matter of time. Everyone will see that it's not going to be the usual thing for the bandits very soon. Government having gotten the license now to take them headlong.
So now, Alilu, are you telling us that there is hope that Nigerians can now, probably in the nearest foreseeable future, can sleep with their two eyes closed and travel to any part of the country without fear of kidnap or banditry?
Very, very, very well, very well, very well. Because it's not just a situation in Nigeria; it's all over the world. So no country is resting over its own problem. Nigeria has never rested. Or the law enforcement agencies are working. All the actors in the criminal justice sector are all busy working, ensuring that Nigerians are safe. And definitely, by the proscription we've had and we have now, the issue of banditry will soon be a thing of the past. Like I said earlier, the war will be both the legal process through the Office of the Attorney General and the military process through the Nigerian Army. Now, so when these come together, there is no way that we will not achieve that result. Nigeria will definitely be a safer place for us all to live.
It's okay. Some Nigerians had also speculated that these bandits are into what they do because they want to survive. How would you react to this?
Well, it's so funny that if everybody sees that as a means of livelihood, you have to take the life of another to survive. Criminality has no justification. You cannot give poverty as an excuse because the man you are running after has toiled himself, has labored to acquire what he has. And so you can as well do what he has done to also be what he is. And if you look at, for example, in the Northwest, you see cattle rustling happening there. And you know what cattle rustling means? The herdsmen going with their cattle in the forest. You see them being attacked by the bandits. their cattle taken away from them in the name of survival. So why will you go into that? A lot of the greed has gone into our heads. The lifestyle everyone wants to live without wanting to labor and then succeed through the legal or legitimate means is the main reason why our youth are into such. So it is never an excuse. It is never a justification. Criminality cannot be an excuse to commit such a heinous crime because it normally involves killing, abduction, causing pains and agonies for others, for families of the victims and victims themselves. So it can't be a justifiable reason to go into criminality.
Now, I mean, as Lilu, as a lawyer, you actually said that so the sentence or penalty for some aspects of that crime could mean 20 years or more. Yes. Now, please, we would like you to be more specific about penalties or sentences meant to be handed to terrorists when arrested or captured. Or is there any stipulated penalty in the law?
Thank you. Yes, the Terrorism Prevention Act, as 2011 as amended, has a different kind of punishment for terrorists, convicted terrorists. It ranges from 20 years to life and then to death. It's usually, once life is involved, if a terrorist involves in killing, because it's not all terrorist acts that resort to killing. So where it involves killing of any person, a loss of life rather, obviously the punishment is death upon conviction by the court of law. Then for other offenses,
like rape,
yes, we have them there. Yes, we have life imprisonment for quite a lot of them. So we have like terrorism financing. You know, there's one aspect of it again. Those we are looking at the bandits, the terrorists you see around there. You see the sophisticated weapons they use. You would agree with me that those things are not taken from the forest. They're supplied by certain persons or individuals. So the law recognizes facilitating or rendering support to these terrorists as well as providing finances to support their acts. So such persons, if found guilty, will face life imprisonment. And so we have issue of also hostage takings, also under the Terrorism Prevention Act, also, which has its own penalty. So it has very severe punishment, and that is why if at the end of successful prosecutions by the Office of Attorney General, we believe that others will be terrorists, will see it as a deterrence and will try to say, no, I cannot go and face this at the end of the day. So it's a very, very grievous crime. Terrorism is a very serious crime. And so the law has also taken it that way and has provided for very stiff and serious penalties for the...
Okay, is there anything you also want to add as we round off this discussion in a manner of education or advice to Nigerians as we have now declared bandits as terrorists?
Well, what I would say is that Nigerians must take note of the fact that, especially now that we have a proscription order against bandits, those who accommodate bandits in their houses, those who provide custody for their weapons should know that they are also as culpable as those bandits or now terrorists. So we should be aware of the kind of humanitarian service we render. Some person will bring some luggage to you to keep for them. You don't know the content of what they have given you. So it is time for you now to start asking questions. What are you giving me to keep for you? Or strangers just run to your place. Please, I want to stay here, spend the night here. You don't know whether you're actually harboring a terrorist at that point in time. So you need to ask questions and be careful who you accommodate, who you relate with, and who is your next door neighbor. You need to know who you live with, who you work with. So it's important to be conscious of our environment and everyone around us. That is the only way we can also prevent the evil acts of banditry and terrorism around us.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on Nigeria Today this evening. We're indeed grateful.
Yeah, thank you, Lydia.
In the studio, we've been talking with Assistant Director of Public Prosecutions of the Federation and Head of Complex Casework Group, Federal Ministry of Justice, Aminu Kayode Alilu. Once again, thank you for your insight.
Thank you so much.
And to you, the viewer out there, we'd like to appreciate you for making time to be with us on the program. Nigeria Today comes your way every weekday at 7:30 p.m. Don't forget, you can watch this and other editions on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am Lydia Odijochi. Thank you for watching and see you tomorrow.